The S&P 500 just closed at a new record high, but it's not just the SPY. We had NYA, or the New York Stock Exchange, closing at a new high. We have RSP, or equal weight S&P 500, closing at a new high. We have Germany, or the DAX, closing at a new record high. And we also have insurance closing at a new record high. NVIDIA is awfully close to a record close, not a record high. So what exactly is happening? Because today we had some bad news that inflation is resurging. We saw that headline CPI actually ticked higher to 3.2 from 3.1, and core CPI went higher to 0.4. This number here compounds at roughly 5% per year. So why are stocks up? That's really the question for today. Why are stocks going up? If bad news is bad, shouldn't we have gone lower? Well, yes, that's exactly what should have happened. So let's look under the hood to see exactly what went higher today. Well, NVIDIA is bright green, Eli Lilly, Microsoft, Meta, Oracle, Adobe. Well, this is an earnings play for Adobe, but when we look to Microsoft, NVIDIA, Meta, and Eli Lilly, these are big winners so far this year. So the winners of the year have been winning more. And we're going to come back and look at NVIDIA in a moment, but it actually broke the pattern that we were looking for on SMCI versus NVIDIA in one day. We had 1 day of consolidation, and now we're going back up. We're up by 7% today for NVIDIA. So 1 day where we consolidate, bounce off the uptrend, just like SPY, come down to support and bounce. Pretty simple, right? Come down to support and bounce. So again, tell me why this is bullish. Well, right now, I think that a lot of people are getting receptive to the idea that it could be more like 1995 than 1999, which means, hey, the bears might be right. They're probably early, though, and these bulls might be wrong, but they have momentum. So Savita, who is the Bank of America strategist, tells us that she's not forecasting a bubble because her lofty stock market forecasts is more like 1995 than 1999. We're going to talk more about the reasons why later this week, but she's saying that stocks are not really all that richly overvalued. Here she shows extreme bullishness versus bearishness for stocks. Here's a bear's take, and then we get more information. So a nice headline for today. She says it's 1995. We've already been talking about that theme, and she's raised her price target quite a bit. Not Mr. Mike Wilson over at Morgan Stanley. He sees no reason to raise the S&P 500 target. So what is he doing? And he's staying firm to his target. I'm going to ask you for a huge favor. If you could please consider smashing that thumbs up and subscribing to the channel, that would be greatly appreciated. So what he says here specifically is that a lot of folks have raised their price targets because of higher multiples. We are not willing to do that. So right now he's calling for a 12% pullback between Monday's close and his target. Well, so we got reasons to be bullish. We got reasons to be bearish, which means the bulls and bears are clearly fighting. We can look here to IBD, where it tells us that hot CPI inflation won't hurt Fed rate cut hopes. S&P 500 rallies. Okay, so that's what they're telling us here. Right, won't hurt Fed rate cut hopes. Well, that kind of explains why the market went up. But there's still some, here's another bull. CPI report won't affect the Fed. JP Morgan's Kelly says. And then finally, here's, I think it's Thorsten Slock. He's telling us that there are several drivers that could lift inflation in the coming months. So if this is truly what the market believes, that we could see more things lift inflation, we should not be higher today, right? Most things are green. It's the losers who are red, right? Let's go to the day. Tesla's flat today, right? Not doing that bad, but hey, it doesn't look all that bad. Look at the last 4 hours. Hey, it looks like there's nothing happening, which means most gains came at the open. NVIDIA, AVGO are advancing. So if bad data is good, what does this mean? Let's try to think about this for 1 second here, because what we would normally expect, we talk about the news versus the reaction to the news. Let's think about this. We got bearish news. We were told that it's a January effect. Well, this is telling us no. This is like, it's not just a January effect. The trend is that it's starting to reaccelerate, at least in the US. We got a 10-year note auction too, and the 10-year note is up today. But anyways, the news was that, hey, inflation looks like it's going to come back. Well, the 10-year note took the cue. Why? It went up like 1% today. But what's going on with the broader market? Why are we getting a record close? So that is not the reaction we would expect. Well, I think that's because the bulls are just more in control. And they're telling us that it won't hurt the Fed rate cut hopes. And not alarming, right? Hey, it's only up a little bit. We're looking for twos, but hey, whatever, right? Party on. Let's go. So that really seems like the story right now, because on the weekend, we heard from people like Larry Summers saying that the Fed is wrong on neutral. and there's an increasing chance that policymakers don't end up lowering their benchmark this year. Well, hey, the bulls and bears can fight all they want. Our job as technicians or technical analysts looking at charts or graphs is we're trying to figure out where we're going to go. Well, when bad news does not take us down, again, the news versus the reaction to the news, what could happen with good news? Well, good news can make us go big up. Oh, really? Yes, really. So when bad news cannot take the market down, what can good news do? It can make it go dramatically higher. So when we're noticing a lot of tickers forming new all-time highs on a record close, the Nasdaq's pretty close. Like it's within a whisker here of getting to the all-time high. And we can look at like Bitcoin, it's gonna be its second strongest close ever. Ether battling for 52-week highs, but hey, it's getting a lot closer here, right? We got to make it to roughly 5,000. So as we go down the list here, like it's all about NVIDIA, and with their event coming up later this week, well, it took 2 days of consolidation here, then news for it to gap up. Hey, NVIDIA is just pushing forward. It doesn't care. It just wants to go up, which means if the leaders are leading, we should look for followers to follow. Like what? Like we saw with RSP, NYA, and we're going to see what happens on the 18th or next Monday. And then we're going to hear from Jerome. But hey, right now, the people can talk all they want about the Fed. It just doesn't matter because NVDA is just in full control. This transformative AI panel will also be interesting. Note we have OpenAI here who's going to be participating. Interesting. No sell the news on Bitcoin. So are we going to get a sell the news on NVIDIA's GTC event? Well, I don't know, right? I can't predict the future, but I can just tell you what price action looks like. Also happy to note that the S&P is now back in a double green light. And QQQ actually got upgraded to close back above 441, which means we're in a monthly higher high for QQQ. So we're back here in a green light. I got the little tag right here for your convenience. What does that mean? So again, last month's high is 440.59. Here we're at 443.95 in after hours. Oh my goodness, these bulls are strong. They are flexing. And that's because there's a lot of undue force on this market where we just want to go up. So what does that mean? Dip buyers have no playbook, as we talked about before. And the best one, where is it here? That continued strength. Do I have the continued strength one here? No, I don't. So let's go back to this one here because I know I got it there. The pattern appears to be playing out. So if we keep seeing more strength, what are we likely going to get? More strength. So higher lows, higher highs, record closes. Hey, that's a bull market. Whether you agree with it or not is completely different. Was also interesting to see that we were on the doorstep of extreme greed earlier today. We made it as high as 74. We're settling here at 69, up from 64 yesterday. So the stock market appears like it's going to ignore all the bad news. And now the question is, when we do eventually get some good news, is that going to be next week? Probably with NVDA. Maybe it's going to be later with the Fed. But what happens? Tune into the weekend deep dive if you want to see more notes. If not, hang out with me at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow.